Good evening, everybody. This is Mayor Robert Sullivan, and I'm so happy to have my colleagues in local government from the City Council. We're doing a Zoom live tonight on BCA. Unfortunately, I'm having technical difficulties, so you won't be able to see me live, but you'll be able to see my good friends, Council President Shirley Azak, Councilors at Large, all four of them. I have Council at Large Moses Rodriguez, Council at Large Win Farwell, Council at Large Tina Cordoza, and Council at Large Rita Mendez. And I really want to thank all of you councilors for joining us tonight. I think it's very informative to have the mayor and the city council, president and the councilors at large come together to talk about COVID and how we need to try to figure out to combat this epidemic that's really plaguing our community. As I came on tonight, I sent the revised update to the city council. On Friday, we had 48 deaths. Tonight, I'm sad to say we have 85 residents have passed away. 85 have passed away to COVID. Currently, we have 1,128 active current cases. Total cases to date since they started to be calculated is 1,657. This is a reality that's not just plaguing the city of Champions, but the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. And I thought it was extremely important to have the city council president and the councils at large come on tonight so that we could share best practices, share ideas, really get the message out, hit it home to everybody in Brockton. Social physical distancing is really, really necessary. Of course, Tina is a registered nurse, and I am privileged to have two former mayors on, Councilor at Large Moses Rodriguez and Councilor at Large Win Farwell. And many people are listening and watching the show, and I just want to open it up to each and every one of you. Of course, we got the mandate today from the governor that schools throughout the Commonwealth are closed for the rest of the school year, meaning school will not open again, hopefully until the fall. A couple of good things I'd like to share with you is that the state has chosen Brockton, the city of Brockton, for contact tracing services that went into effect today. And we've been tracing here in Brockton with the Board of Health, our health nurse, Evelyn, and also our dear friends from Brockton Public School nurses that have been helping. But contact tracing services is really going to help us as we move through this to be able to do exactly what it says, trace, so we could come up with a way to reach solutions and answer some of the questions. So again, I mentioned this last night on a call. If you see a caller ID, MA COVID team, mass COVID team, that is someone from the state calling to get some information. So with that being said, I'd like to start with the council president. Shirley, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, for putting this together and having us join you in this very informative meeting that is well needed. And I know that was one of the questions that one of the residents constituents had asked me a few days back, is how we were doing some contact tracing. So I'm happy to hear that, and I will forward that information to the residents to share with them. Once again, thank you for putting this together, having us come together to really just open up the conversation, get more information to our residents. I think that's really what's needed, is just to keep sharing information, making sure that we do our part as counselors to make sure that residents do, work in constant contact with them if they do have questions, if they, where they can get their questions answered or what's available to them through our city. So thank you for all that you're doing. I know these are tough times, and but we'll get through them. And it really is. We need to work together to really move forward and get the information out to residents. So I've been contacted by. Oh, please, thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you to. I just received the call from the school department that about the schools, about the governor's announcement to close the schools. So I know that constituents will probably be calling us to get some information on that. And, thanks to our school committee and our superintendent and yourself for everything that you've done to keep everything, to get the information out to the students. I know last week I was in a huge, it took me almost an hour from my house to the high school to get the, I had to go to IT, and there were people, residents picking up laptops from the high school. It literally took like 40 minutes from Ash Street to Forest Ave entrance because we had so many residents that were picking up the laptops for their students. So thank you for doing that, making those available to our students. And I know that the lunch program is continuing as well. I think I heard that as part of the announcement from the superintendent, that you're continuing to make sure that all our students have food at the pickup sites. So that you guys have done amazing with that. So thank you for the school committee and yourself and our superintendent. I just want to say thank you, and here, and I don't know if you want to take the counselors, in order, and then we can continue our discussion, but I don't want to take up all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, thank you, Council President. I mean, there's no really agenda other than, to talk and to inform the general public. I mean, the councils at large, of course, serve the entire city, 7 wards, 28 precincts, and I'm really happy to call all of them my friends, of course. Councilor Cardoza being a nurse and Councilor Mendez being an attorney, they bring a wealth of knowledge and skill set to the conversation. And again, both Moses and Wen being former mayors and esteemed councilors at large, this is a healthy conversation. But as my mother taught me, girls before boys. So I'm gonna actually have Councilor Cardoza followed by Councilor Mendez, and then maybe we could have the 2 other councilors at large.
Thank you all for inviting me. I'm sorry I'm a little discombobulated because I just got home from work, so I'm trying to set up. And of course, I live with other people who are watching a movie, a very loud movie in the room next door. So I'm trying to find a quiet spot to be able to do this. I've been very busy as a nurse, been going to work every day at Boston Medical. And then on top of that, trying to help folks that are calling me during the crises here in Brockton in any way that I can help. First, I want to ask the mayor, how are you feeling? I was a little concerned yesterday. You seemed a little, I know these are trying times, you seemed a little down yesterday. Are you doing okay?
I am. No, I am. I mean, as you know, my wife Maria is a physician assistant. So, none of us, when we took that oath on January 6th, expected anything like this. I mean, a pandemic in the year 2020 was unheard of. And it is, it's a daunting task when I get these numbers of deaths. I mean, they increase every single day, and it's, it's sad and it's tragic, quite honestly. So, no, thank you. I'm doing well. I have a great family, great support, great team at City Hall. Did have a wonderful call today just to share with all of you with the state delegation. The 3 representatives and the state senator. We talked about COVID and what the state's doing and asking for more assistance and also budget projections. So thank you for asking, Councilor. And I just want to thank you publicly. I mean, you have a job that's saving lives, and thank you for that efforts.
Okay, because I know it must be tough, running a city with all that we're going through. And I want to thank you for your efforts as well. I think we're at a point where people are starting to kind of pay attention, and people want to help, and people are offering their help, and folks are sharing information. So I'm proud of folks in Brockton that are reaching out, offering to help in any way that they can. That's encouraging. I spoke to a resident today who called and said, Tina, I have everybody locked up in my house and no one can leave. And we're cleaning and we're doing this and we're doing that, just to kind of reassure us that they're doing their part. So I think people are trying. I think it's a tough city, when things like this hit. We got to remember, people live very tight quarters in the city. So there are families that, 4, 5, 6, I have 5 in my house, so it's not an easy thing. We're fortunate to have 2 bathrooms. A lot of families only have 1, and they're sharing bathrooms. And So I think it's not easy for any of us. There's a responsibility from the mayor's office, there's responsibility from the community end, from the nonprofits, and from us as individuals, this personal responsibility to do what we can to stay informed and to stay healthy and to stay safe. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I think people are starting to get it. Okay, we still have some folks that are not obeying the orders, and some folks that are not social distancing. We talked about that yesterday on a call, and the mayor asked folks to reach out to the counselors if they do see things like that, and maybe the counselors can try to help, whether it be calling the police or just trying to do more work in their wards to educate people. I think initially, with the counselors, and Shirley, we talked about this, like, how can we help? I think we were kind of not clear on how we can help. Me being a nurse, I kind of always knew that there were some things that I could share with people to help. But, some of the counselors, I think we felt we weren't sure how we would be able to help. But I think now, having these Zoom meetings and communicating with each other, we've been really good at talking to each other about ways that we can help out in the community as best that we can. So I appreciate everybody. I know Wynn was on the call yesterday, Moses, the mayor. I've invited Rita, Tom Monahan, and Jeff Thompson to a call where we can translate in Cape Verdean Creole to the Cape Verdean community, because they have wards that are the heavy Cape Verdean communities in Ward 2 and Ward 5, and just try to keep getting the information out there as much as we can to people to stay home, to keep, cleaning, to maintain social distancing, to use their mask when they're in public, to not go out unless they absolutely have to. We just have to keep hammering that into people as best we can via any platform that we have access to. So I think we're doing good work right now. Let's stay on it. Let's keep those Zoom calls. I had called for a reverse 911 call in different languages. We can kind of continue to talk about that. There's some things that were done.
I think that's you and I had talked about it. I think that's a brilliant idea. The way that the reverse 911 works, I had never known as a counselor at large for 14 years, but Plymouth County Sheriff actually does that for the city of Brockton. And when you hear the voice, it's a woman that works for the sheriff's office. So we're trying to figure out the way to be able to do it in multiple languages. So I think that's extremely important. I know a mailing would be important as well. And really just working, together, all hands on deck. I mean, any help is going to be beneficial help. So I support anything you're providing. And I know at the end of the day that the school committee, the city council, the state delegation, the mayor, I mean, put aside the fact we're all elected, we have families and we want to make sure everyone is safe in our community.
Right. And I think we're doing a good job. We just have to continue to plug. I had talked to Steve Hook a little bit about PPEs for the nursing homes, because I know that they're getting hit hard. So if we can kind of make sure that we're getting enough PPEs for the nursing homes.
And that's great, Council. Mr. Hook had told me about that conversation, and the way that it works, Council, is that MEMA will provide PPEs and have provided PPEs to the municipality, to the city of Brockton, and supposedly DPH is supposed to provide the PPEs to the hospitals, the nursing rest homes. I've put that aside. I mean, at the end of the day, I've told Mr. Hook, if we have extras, we don't have the extra N95s to give, but we're giving out the regular surgical masks to the nursing homes. Anything that we can provide as a community, we need to. I think it's a human fiduciary duty to do that. So I share your sentiments on that.
Okay. So basically from my end, I will continue to do my part to try to educate in the Cape Verdean community as I speak the language. Just trying to do my part to make sure that we hit the radio and we hit, social media. We got a lot of views yesterday on that.
Yes.
That Zoom meeting that we did. So that was really good. And actually I got some feedback today that they really loved it. So people are paying attention and they like that we did that. So the more that we appear on these programs and we get it out there, I think the better. And people will start to pay attention. You know, they have no choice but to pay attention, because this is, you know, we're in a horrible situation here. We don't want to continue to lose more lives. So people at home, I'm pleading with you to please listen to the orders and please maintain social distancing and please do your part, because we can only do so much. We need you to help. So that's my spiel. I'm here to help in any way that I can. Whatever you need, Mayor, and other counselors that maybe don't speak the language that need me to help in any way, I'm here to help.
Thank you so much, Counselor. I really mean that. Thank you so much, and be safe when you're at work as well. And I'll shift it over now to Counselor at Large Mendez. Rita, how are you?
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having us all in this call. And thank you for really keeping us informed. Unfortunately, every time when I get your emails, it's just bad and bad news keep coming. But I know it's important to keep everybody informed. And I share the same sentiments that Tina said. I'm really pleading now with the public and the people, Brockton. They have to start following the guidelines, the curfew, staying at home, and really following these orders, because we can't just continue to have people dying every single day. These are lives. So it's very sad. It's very serious, and it's very concerning. I was talking today with a good friend of mine. She's a mental health counselor over at Brockton Neighborhood Health Center, and she expressed that they're doing now consultations over the phone to help people, because there's a lot of people with a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. They don't know for how long this is going to continue. They're very concerned, and a lot of people that they don't speak the language, so they get lost in that as well. And I think there's a cultural stigma that people, even if they have some of the symptoms of the COVID-19, they're afraid to go to the hospital, afraid to get tested, because if it comes back positive, then they know what the result is, that they have to quarantine themselves, they have to be isolated, they can't go to work. And I think there's a lot of concern regarding that, because they're the main breadwinners, they're the essential workers. They have to go and put food on the table for their family. I see a lot of that concern as well. And also what I've been finding is, because I'm an attorney and I deal with immigration, a lot of people, they are afraid to go and ask for help, because now there's a public charge rule that which Trump made it so much harder now this year, that if you go and you get government help and government assistance, that could possibly affect you on immigration cases. But I just want to inform the public that that is not the case. Anything related with the COVID-19, with the coronavirus, just go to the hospital, go get tested, go get treated, go take care of yourself and your family, and it's not going to affect immigration cases. So there's a lot going on in the immigrant community, and a lot of misconception, a lot of stigma, and just people just need to be informed. They need to have the right information. And I think this is so good that we're doing this tonight, to really inform everybody and let people know what the facts are and what the correct way to proceed about this is. So thank you so much for doing this. And we are here, we're offering our help, we're offering anything. I've been getting calls from people for anything, and then I will try to reach out to the department. I will try to help in any possible way that I can, but we're all in this together, and we need to be strong here to be able to somehow get this under control. It just can't keep going on like this. It's unacceptable.
No, you're right. No, you're 100% right on that. And thank you for that information. And being an attorney, you're very helpful from that knowledge base as well. And it's unfortunate. You're right. The emails that I send to the council and to the state delegation is always bad, right? I mean, I'm giving increased death counts. I'm giving increased cases of people that are confirmed active positive. And I can give you a positive piece of information right now because we did a press release today. So the city of Brockton will be getting $841,179 under the CARES Act fund. It's going to be federal HUD funding. I'm waiting for the contract to come to the city of Brockton so I can sign it. The money will then be wired from the federal government to the BRA, the Redevelopment Authority, which will be helping us in terms of distributing funds to Brockton businesses and to residents So that's some positive news. In terms of, I'm sure all of you have been getting calls as councilors at large and as the council president about the yard waste. Why are my bags still out? Why are my bags still out? It frustrates me. Mine were out for over 9 days. You know that I did a robocall, reverse 911, 3 different times. Republic had originally come to me and said, Mr. Mayor, we're not going to pick up any yard waste in the month of April. We can't, because people are home. Extensive amount of trash is being put out now, because of the increased tonnage. We just can't do it. And I put on my little lawyer cap and I said, no, you will do it because you're contractually obligated to do that. But what we will do is for the month of April, we'll minimize. So I put out a call. It said 8 yard waste bags curbside and 2 additional trash barrels, a total of 10 per week on yard waste. First week they did it a little bit, and then they just kind of really got behind. So, we were getting inundated with calls. I know you were getting emails and calls. So I had a conversation again with Republic saying, hey, you need to step this up. They expressed to me that they usually have 3 trucks on the street every day to pick up yard waste. They're down to 1 because the other 2 are being used to pick up all the different curbside trash. So I did authorize the DPW Commissioner, Mr. Rowley. We're having Brockton resources to help with Republic right now. With the rain and the bad weather, a lot of these bags are really in rough shape. So for the next week, Brockton's going to be going around to pick up yard waste as well. We're going to dump it down on Oak Hill Way, a recycle place down there, and then Republic will come and pick it up and bring it to the offsite location. I think it's in Bridgewater or East Bridgewater. So that's the latest and greatest on yard waste. It's not ideal. I don't necessarily want to expendiate resources for our people, but at the end of the day, there's an expectation when you put your yard waste out not to be out there for an extended period of time. So before we get into Moses and the win, I also wanted to share one more piece of information, and I did an informational interview today. As you know, excise taxes were due in March. I pushed them off to April. I then pushed it to May 18th. Real estate tax was due on May 1. I pushed that to June 1. I've waived all late fees, all convenient fees. The next thing is water, sewer, trash bills, which are due June 4th. And I told Mr. Rowley, DPW Commissioner, no, let's push those off to July 5th. So those will be due July 5th, not June 4th. Again, waiving all late fees or convenience fees. Some people have asked me, Mr. Mayor, can you waive them completely? Wipe out real estate taxes, wipe out these. We can't legally do that, number one. But number two, we can't do it because that's what sustains our services. Of course, that's a component of some of the aid that comes in. So just if your constituents call you, again, that's the information. It's going to be up on the city website as well. But I just wanted to pass that on to each and every one of the at-larges and to the president as well. With that being said, former mayor, now councilor at large once again, Mr. Rodriguez, how are you tonight, sir?
Mayor, I'm sorry, before Moses comes on, can I ask a question about the yard?
Sure.
About trash? I'm getting
Sure.
calls regarding additional recycle bins. I know they cost $50. Do we know if we have them available and if there's anything that we can do to get more recycle? Because people are ordering in bulk right now, and so there's a lot of recycle.
Yeah, I can check on that. That's a good question. I mean, I bought mine last year. I went down to Oak Hill and paid the $50 or $52 or whatever it was, so I could put it out with the amount of recycling we put out. But that's a good inquiry. Let me follow up with the DPW Commissioner in the morning and then circle back to all of you.
Okay, thank you.
You
Thank
done
you,
asking
Counselor.
questions, Tina?
Yes, thank you, Moses.
Well, hello, everybody. I just want again, echo what has already been said in terms of us doing this thing together. I think it's an important aspect for us to show a united front to our communities. We know that this whole issue with COVID has actually hit Brockton harder than most other communities besides Boston. But it's important that we come out with a united front to try to get whatever information we get out to our community, that it's in unison in the sense that it's a solid information, that we're not driving people from one side to the other and confusing the daylights out of people. I received a call from a 95-year-old woman who lives in Chatham West today. And she basically was telling me that People are still walking, exercising shoulder to shoulder, running shoulder to shoulder, hanging around shoulder to shoulder in the sense. And I think it's important for us just to remind people that the longer they keep doing this, the longer this process is going to continue. Most of us probably don't even exercise, but those that actually exercise, I think if you do it either in your home, in your backyard, in some of the other places, if you can please put that off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum, then we can kind of shorten that curve that everybody's been talking about. This whole nonsense about trying to force things out, and I remember what Bob was saying yesterday in terms of having to call the police on kids playing soccer in a park. We're not doing what we should be doing in terms of a community to shorten that curve. And as a community, we cannot continue to do this because, as it's been said here, Brockton is a 24 square mile community with 100,000 plus people. There's a lot of us living basically one on top of the other. And we cannot continue to do the things that we're doing if we do not abide by the social distancing that everybody's been talking about. I mean, it's this new terminology that we're learning as we go along. But it's important that we do that because the longer we continue to not do that, the longer this whole thing is going to continue. Frankly, to be honest with you, I mean, we heard from the governor today basically calling off the school year. The way we're going, we're not following the guidelines. I don't see us coming out of this until mid to late June, the way we're going. So I think it's important for us just to sing out with the same tone, and to enforce the fact that people need to separate and stay away from each other. I mean, there's absolutely nothing more crucial. People say to me all the time, there's no cure for coronavirus. I said, no, there is. You know what that is? Separation. You separate from people who are infected. That's the cure for corona. That's the vaccine for corona. So that's what we need to do, is basically stay on top of people and try to take away from the fact that we hear people saying, I have to go to work because of this, because of that. You know what? Sacrifices need to be made, and we need to do it together as a community, because it's not you individually, it's not I individually, it's what we bring home to our loved ones that we got to really be concerned about. We got some good news today, at least from what I was watching on television. It seems that the Senate has passed about $500 billion worth of funds to go towards the PPD program that they were talking about. It means that there's more monies that are going to be coming to the local communities. And we have to basically, once it's approved, once it goes through the House and signed by the president, for us to get on the bandwagon, get our businesses to sign on so that more people can stay home and stay away from the streets. Because I'm telling you, I see it. I drive around the city from time to time just to see what's going on. I see way too many people still hanging around, way too many people who should not have as many cars on the road as we do have at all hours of the day, basically. And I think we need to be a little more responsible. It's easy to sit here and point fingers at government saying the government isn't doing this, the government isn't doing that. But whether or not you go outside, it's on you, not necessarily in government. And I think we need to stress the importance of people staying home and following the guidelines that actually have been presented here.
Council, thank you very much. And you're right. I mean, on Sunday, I had to call the police to Edgar's Playground for 25 people playing soccer. On Easter Sunday, it was Tuca's Park, same type of, similar thing. People are still, even though DW Golf Course has been closed for 4 weeks now, still jumping in and playing. And we've got to call the cops, got to have Tim Carpenter from the parks go over there as well. So thank you, for what you're doing, Councilor, former mayor. And I know, every Friday when I participate on the SBA call with Metro South Chamber of Commerce for the businesses, I know Moses and a lot of the Cape Verde Association business owners are on that call, and I think it's valuable, and I'm getting good feedback. So, that information,
we'll do it again Friday as well. So
yeah, we'll be back on again. Yeah, and I'll make sure. I know Shirley's been on it. I'll make sure that everybody gets that from Chris Cooney. He generates it from the chamber, and I do a weekly call with all the bankers. I do a weekly call with all the businesses, Montello, downtown, Campello. There's business owners that have been on it, like Fred Fontaine or John Marion. They come on, and Mary Walden from OCPC. So, we're going to get through this. We're trying to minimize the loss of life and the pain and anguish that is really impacting Brockton. And then when we do get through it, whatever that is in terms of the new normal, we got to make sure that the businesses will be able to go again. And the sad fact is some of these mom and pops that have been here for generations, some of them statistically won't survive. So we have a duty to try to not just save people's lives, but save businesses as well. So thank you for what you're doing, Moses, and I share your sentiments. And with that being said, I'll open it up to the other former mayor and councilor at large, Farwell. Good evening, Win.
Good evening all. And Mr. Mayor, it's so important that you're doing this, because when people are worried, when it's such a unique issue that we're fighting, when they're stressed, they're out of work, they've got the kids home, the most important thing we can give them is accurate information, and to be honest and let them know exactly what's going on. And some of the remarks in social media worry me, because people say, well, what are you doing for the homeless? Well, what are you doing for the nursing home? And actually, as you and I know, there is a ton of work that's going on behind the scenes. Whether people like Governor Baker or they don't, whether they know anything about Secretary Sutters, I believe they have really put together a great organization with a lot of information. They are addressing homeless issues. They are addressing testing. I don't think most people know it, but assisted living facilities, long-term care, or nursing homes, they can call and ask the testing be done, and either the kits can be sent out if they have the medical people, or the National Guard will come in and test, because that's where we seem to have a high degree of concentration of COVID-19. We will not, even if we do everything right, we can't get out of this issue and this problem without the help of the public. This is one of those rare instances where, all of us in the council, you, the governor, and everyone else could do everything right. And unless people are willing to cooperate and isolate themselves and maintain that social distancing, we're going to be in big trouble. And we don't want to lose people. We really don't. I said last night, and I reiterate it today, and I know Tina and Rita and Moises do it. If somebody is bilingual and they understand all of the ramifications of what's going on and the things that we're trying to do, and they see a family that perhaps has limited English speaking ability or none, I hope they'll pick up the phone, or they'll text them, or they'll make them aware of how badly we need the cooperation of the public. We just have to have it. And I'm going to conclude by saying I hope you'll expand a little bit on how that $841,000 may be spent. The other thing I would say is I hear the issues about trash, and I'm not trying to be hard, but Republic isn't picking up any more restaurants. They're not picking up any more schools. They're, in some respects, you would almost think that their driver force would be able to do more for us here in Brockton. And I do know the leaf issue, because I think everyone is stressed and they've got kids home and they're worried about their jobs. The leaf issue became a bigger issue than it ordinarily would, but I do get a lot of calls on that. People get frustrated. So I hope Republic can pull it together and do what they need to do. And you stay healthy, Mr. Mayor. And I know I can, in this occasion, I can speak for the rest of the councilors. There may be appropriations or transfers that are needed, because BEMA may need money, or DPW, or police, or fire, and we need to do that. We need to keep track of all this, and I know you're putting in for funding from the feds, and it should come through to help cities and towns. And the last thing I would ask of you, Mr. Mayor, is, and it's something I think either Rita or Tina said, people who are sick and they go and they get tested and they've got COVID-19, the businesses that are sharing in the stimulus money should give those people 3 or 4 weeks paid time off. we can't risk having someone go back to work and infect others because they're so afraid that they can't put food on the table and support their family. And if it takes a bill through the legislature, acted upon quickly, approved by the governor, I would hope that no one would hold off getting treated because they're afraid of losing their job and not having an income. Particularly if the business is taking that federal money, you know what, share it with the workers who are genuinely sick, and it's validated, because we need to help people as much as we can through this. And I thank you for your leadership and the opportunity to be here with you tonight.
Thank you, Councilor. A couple things you touched upon I'd like to share and inform in terms of the nursing home. So I have a standing 3 times a week call, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with all the hospitals, Good Sam, Signature Brockton, the VA, not as much anymore. They've dropped off, but Sue Joss at the Neighborhood Health Center. Also included in that call is High Point and also Mainspring Father Bills. And then twice a week, it's every nursing home, rest home, and assisted living in the city of Brockton. And I will say that we've had some wonderful open communication. My first day on these calls, I said, this isn't about competition or who makes more money. This is about saving lives. And they've all bought into that, everybody, which is really, really, really awestruck. It's awesome. I will also say that the Commonwealth recognizes that the city of Brockton, and they've announced this, Lieutenant Governor has done this, Baker himself has said this, and Secretary Sutters, we were at the forefront in Brockton in terms of dealing with people with facing homelessness, our homeless population. Utilizing Perkins Park for the tents has been brilliant. Any given day, we have 130 residents that live at Mainspring, 54 North Main Street. And of course, we all know, and Rita knows this as medically trained, this virus spreads like wildfire in close quarters. So what we did was we utilized resources, DPH through BEMA, through the Board of Health, and of course they put the 3 tents up, 2 for residential, 30 per tent. The third one is for food. The fourth one is actually not on city property. It's in the parking lot of Father Bill's Mainspring for medical triage. 39 of those folks out of the 130 have tested positive. They've been able to be streamlined originally to Lexington, Massachusetts, to the hotel up there, which is the state regional facility. That's been maxed out. And then recently, a couple of them have been sent to the new regional hotel, which is closer to us. It's in Taunton, Massachusetts. So in terms of mechanisms in place, we're doing what we need to do. Can we do better? Yeah, everything can be done better, and it needs to be done better. But in terms of the yard waste, again, I know some of the drivers were inflicted with COVID, so they were short on staff as well. But anything I can do to work with the state delegation, I will. And thank you for talking about appropriations. I made a declaration, an executive order, discretionary spending is ceased. We cannot do that. This was several weeks ago. I've told all the department heads. We've done hiring freezes as well. The sad news, other than loss of life, which is just surely tragic, is we were all so excited in January and February about the Student Opportunity Act and the $21 million that was coming to Brockton, long overdue, right? Case law, the Webby case, McDuffie case, Hancock case, all from Brockton. And to the point where as chair of the school committee, I was proud to vote with my fellow colleagues on the school committee to authorize 93 new positions in Brockton Public Schools, classroom teachers and paraprofessionals. Hasn't happened in a decade. We haven't brought on staff. We've deleted staff. Unfortunately, now we've had to pump the brakes and took a lawful vote recently in the school committee. We can't fill those spots. We can't. I was on a call with a couple mayors over the weekend. They're talking about furloughs and layoffs. And, it's a scary, scary proposition. But, we're working on the budget. I was working on it again today. It's kind of the unknown budget, councilors, right now, because everything that had been proposed from the governor and House and Senate side is all gone now. We need to figure out how to do it. I know Representative Cronin was on a call with me today, and Representative Cassidy, who's on the Ways and Means, and Senator Brady's on the Senate Ways and Means, and Representative Dubois. And I was with Troy Clarkson, CFO, and I was saying anything you can do, because we're going to need every penny. And as mayor, I've told every department head on the school side and city side, account for every cent, every penny that we're paying to deal with COVID, because I'm going to seek reimbursement from the feds on every cent. And again, we're not going to get every cent. We know that. Mayor Carpenter put it in during the massive blizzards that we had several years back. And, it takes about a year to get reimbursed, but it's not dollar for dollar. So thank you for what you guys are doing. We're going to have tough times ahead. We're going to just roll up the sleeves, keep working. And I do know that the council president speaks French because she was educated in college over in Paris. So I thank you on that too, Shirley. But was there any other things that maybe we missed or?
I wanted to go over just a couple of things with Republic,
Sure.
and I know that they had a shortage of drivers, and that's kind of what caused some of the issues of the delays with picking up trash. But just so we know, I know Councilor Fowler mentioned that, they're not picking up restaurants and schools, but a lot of our restaurants have contracts with they're not all Republic, and they're not all.
Yes.
They do have other contracts. I believe even the schools have their own contract. They're not part of our regular pickup, because they all have dumpster pickups. It's totally different than the regular residential trash. And they did find that people were throwing out a lot more than usual because they were home. So the amount of trash did spike up in the beginning, and a lot of that I think was unexpected, and they were trying to deal with that. But I just want residents to know that, if they contact their counselors, or they call the recycling center that Pat Sullivan is very happy to work with anybody, whether it's with another recycling bin, or just to let them know when when the trash will get picked up, whether it's yard waste. I know with the calls I got on yard waste, as soon as I reassured the residents that we weren't going to get penalized or get any fees added, they were very understanding, and they figured whenever Republic got there, they got there. So I think just making sure that we keep lines of communication open, that the residents are aware of, that we're aware of the problem and that it's being taken care of. I think that's really important. And I just wanted to make sure that we as counselors do our job to help you spread the word. And I know that a few of the residents that I spoke with, not everybody's on Facebook, or maybe not everybody is a friend on, whether it's the city of Brockton's Facebook page, or your page, or mine, but everybody has a different following. And what I would urge my fellow colleagues is if we can all share your PSA announcements, if we can all share what is posted through, whether it's your page, the city of Brockton's, or BEMA's, and that just gets the word out to more people. So we're trying to get the word out to as many residents as we can. I urge everybody also to go on the city website, which you've done a really good job by keeping it updated. I know you did the multiple languages right from day one. And I really feel like we all need to come together and keep sharing the information, sharing it with everybody, so everybody can get it out to as many residents as possible, and all different languages, so and if somebody has a language barrier, we can direct them in the right direction.
Yeah, I thank you, and I thank all of you. I mean, when the message goes out, I look, and I have Kerry Richards, my chief of staff, look, and you are sharing it, and it expands, to all different contacts in the city. And again, the website is something that Jensen Desnoyes in my office, the communications liaison, is working on, daily. I know we're talking a lot about yard waste, but one thing was brought to my attention today, and I just want to share it with all of you, and also anybody listening and watching the show. The DPW commissioner was put on notice that certain people are actually filling the yard waste bags with trash, and then over the top putting leaves and trimmings of grass, so it looks like it's 100% yard waste. And when it gets to the recycle dump, they are calling the city DPW commissioner and blasting us. And so what's going to happen now is they're going to drive around And when they do pick up the yard waste, they're going to put a little slit in the bag before they throw it into the trash truck, and make sure that, again, it is 100% yard waste. And then the other thing that we've done in the mayor's office, through my office in conjunction with Mr. McGarry, John McGarry, health officers, several weeks ago, we sent a letter out. I know that Councilor Monahan and Councilor Cruz and all the councilors, all 11, were very upset, as I was and school committee was. People just dropping the latex gloves in parking lots, the supermarkets. I saw it at Market Basket, I saw it at Shaw's, I saw it at Stop and Shop, I saw it at CVS, and also the masks. And you know, it's difficult to catch a person that does that. You'd have to be there real time. So we sent a letter out to all the property owners, CVS, every supermarket, every essential store, putting them on notice again. They have a duty to keep their property clean, and receptacles and trash, additional trash receptacles would be greatly appreciated. So I have not gotten as many complaints in the mayor's office as we had before that letter went out. But I do just want to reiterate, if people are doing that, to please cease, because it's just, first of all, it's unhealthy and it's an eyesore, but it's also just creating a real nuisance for our Board of Health inspectors as they go out as well. So is there any other questions or comments or suggestions or criticisms or ideas that we want to talk about?
I just have one thing, Mayor, one request. When
Sure,
you do
Councilor.
the call with the nursing homes, your next call, if you wouldn't mind just asking them about the PPEs, because like I said, I've had a couple calls from people who work at nursing homes saying they just don't have enough. And then the other thing, how are they educating? A lot of their staff are English is their second language in some of the nursing homes. How are they educating their staff around, you know, good hand washing and taking care of themselves and staying home if they're sick, that type of thing. If there's any assistance they need in that area, do we need to give them the staff information in different languages? Because I've heard from a couple staff members that don't speak good enough English that could use more educating around, you know, staying home if you're sick, you know, washing your hands and just good hygiene during this time. So if that's something you could do on your call.
Yeah, no, I'll have a call tomorrow with them. I know John Corliss from Bay Point had looked for additional masks, and then Beaumont Ave had looked for additional masks down there, and we provided them through Steve Hook and Beamer. And I do want to publicly thank Congressman Stephen Lynch, who has been calling me on a regular basis. He's been able to get some additional PPEs for Brockton Police, Brockton Fire, for Brockton Neighborhood Health Center. I referred him to the two hospitals. I know the masks that came from the Kraft family and the Patriots, a percentage came to Brockton. They didn't just get the masks, they got razors. Neighborhood Health Center got like 2,000 razors. It was from Gillette. So again, I will take that information, Tina, and I'll bring it up tomorrow at 11 o'clock with all of them. That's a good question. And you know, one thing about these calls is people are pretty, at least, you know, this is my 6th or 7th week doing it. They're pretty forthcoming. They don't really, you know, try to stay away from, you know, not sharing. But I'll bring that up, and I'll report back, and I'll do an update to the council on my findings that they share with me.
Yeah, if they need to educate staff, you know, a little more, I think that's something we should talk about, because maybe they're not doing what they're supposed to do and they're bringing the virus into the nursing home. So we just really need to make sure that everybody's doing their best to protect themselves and to take care of themselves and to take care of our elderly.
Absolutely. And I think, councilors, that also goes hand in hand with the housing authority. Of course, we know that, you know, it's a confined area. A lot of the residents of the Brockton Housing Authority are seniors and the most vulnerable population. And Tom Tebow, who's been doing a wonderful job dealing with this pandemic as the executive director, he reached out to me and John McGarry, and I shared this last night as well on the call, that, you know, we did an order, you know, and it is prohibiting visitation right now, in an abundance of caution to really protect those. The housing authority had for weeks avoided some serious positive cases, but of course there's been loss of life, and it's starting to ramp up. So anything that we can do locally, you know, vis-a-vis the curfew or anything, we need to do that, and I'll do that. And again, this is an important conversation we're having tonight, and I'll also welcome, you know, the ward councilors. We have to avoid, again, any quorum or anything like that. But, you know, I'll coordinate it through the council president. But I just thought the initial one, it needs to be the 4 at-larges, you know, serving the whole city, and of course the president. But with that being said, I mean, I just want to thank you for your partnership, for your leadership. I look forward to continue working with you as we get through this, and we will get through this. But the only way we can get through this is together. And I mean that, and I know that's going to be a truth, and we'll get there. But thank you for your time, your efforts, and I wish you a good night, and stay safe, everybody, please.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Let's
Good night.
let's do this again and continue to inform our folks as best as we possibly can.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.